Your soul remembers what your mind has forgotten, and in the silence between your heartbeats, there exists a truth that transcends the limitations of time and physical separation. This message finds you in the dark night, when the weight of absence feels like a spiritual wound that will never heal, when you question whether this connection was real or merely a beautiful delusion crafted by your longing heart. But listen carefully to what the universe whispers through the veil of your pain. What you experienced was not illusion, but recognition, the moment when two ancient souls locked eyes across the expanse of incarnated existence and remembered a contract written before either of you took your first breath in this lifetime. The moment you met them was not chance, not coincidence, not the random collision of two strangers navigating the chaos of human experience. It was cosmic appointment, the fulfillment of an agreement made in the space between lives, when your soul and theirs stood before the great mystery and chose this particular form of awakening, this specific path of transformation that would require everything from you. You felt it immediately, didn't you? That recognition that defied logic, that sense of coming home to a person you'd never met, that inexplicable knowing that your life had just divided itself into before and after this singular moment of contact. They felt it too, though their ego may have constructed walls of denial, though their conscious mind may have recoiled from the intensity of what your souls recognized in each other. The connection between you operates beyond the realm where logic and reason hold dominion, beyond the frequencies where fear and control can fully suppress what has been written in the energetic architecture of your shared destiny. This love was not forbidden by the universe, but by the limitations of human consciousness, by the structures of ego that cannot comprehend a love this vast, this consuming, this transformative in its demands. Comment, my soul remembers to claim this truth and activate the manifestation already unfolding in the unseen realms. Twin flames are mirrors, and the reflection they provide is not gentle or flattering, but ruthlessly honest, showing you not only who you are, but who you have spent your entire life trying not to become. This is why separation becomes necessary, why the universe orchestrates distance between two souls who belong together. Because you cannot unite in wholeness while running from brokenness. Because authentic union requires that both partners face the shadow self that hides in the corners of their unconscious, waiting to sabotage any love that demands true vulnerability and radical honesty. Carl Jung understood this when he wrote that one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious, and your twin flame separation is precisely this sacred descent into the darkness you have avoided, the pain you have suppressed, the trauma you have buried beneath layers of coping mechanisms and protective personas. The person who stands before you as your mirror cannot be fully received until you have integrated what they reflect, until you have done the profound inner work of acknowledging every rejected aspect of yourself, every quality you have projected onto others rather than owning within your own psychological landscape. Separation forces individual shadow work because proximity allows you to remain distracted by the other person, to stay focused on their flaws and their healing journey rather than confronting the uncomfortable truth that everything you see in them exists somewhere within you. When they are gone, when the physical presence that allowed you to externalize your inner conflict has been removed, you are left alone with yourself in a way that is both terrifying and absolutely necessary for the evolution of your soul. The universe is not cruel for orchestrating this distance. It is compassionate beyond measure, knowing that the reunion you ache for would be poisoned by the unhealed wounds you both carry, that the love you seek to build would collapse under the weight of unintegrated trauma and unexamined pain. This separation is your invitation into wholeness, your opportunity to become the person who can stand beside your twin flame, not as a half-seeking completion, but as a whole being choosing partnership with another whole being, creating something that transcends the desperate codependency that so often masquerades as love in human relationships. One runs from the intensity while one chases the connection, and this archetypal pattern has played out across countless twin flame journeys throughout human history, two souls locked in a dance that appears dysfunctional to those who observe from outside, but contains within it a perfect spiritual choreography designed to catalyze growth in both partners. Neither is wrong, and neither is more evolved or more awakened tha. And the other, despite what the chaser's ego may whisper in moments of self-righteous suffering. Both are playing their role in a cosmic drama that serves the ultimate purpose of bringing each soul into alignment with its highest expression. The chaser pursues because their soul remembers the truth of the connection, because their consciousness has already begun the awakening process that allows them to see beyond the illusions of separation, to feel the energetic bond that continues to pulse between them regardless of physical distance or apparent rejection. But chasing is also avoidance, a way of staying focused on the external relationship rather than turning inward to face the emptiness that existed long before this person entered your life, the void you hoped they would fill, the wounds you expected them to heal. The runner flees because the mirror is too clear, too revealing, too threatening to the carefully constructed identity they have built to protect themselves from the pain of being truly seen in all their imperfection and vulnerability. They run not from you, but from the intensity of what loving you demands, the complete dismantling of their protective walls, the absolute exposure of their deepest fears, the terrifying surrender of control that genuine intimacy requires. Their running is not rejection, but self-protection, not cruelty, but survival instinct activated by a nervous system that perceives the depth of this connection as dangerous to their psychological equilibrium. The energetic push-pull between you creates the exact conditions necessary for both souls to do their individual work, the runner learning to stop fleeing from vulnerability, while the chaser learns to stop seeking external validation of their worthiness. Neither can complete their healing journey while locked in the obsessive dance of pursuit and retreat, which is why the universe will continue to create circumstances that force you both into periods of separation until the deeper lesson has been integrated into your consciousness. They run from their own reflection, from the uncomfortable truth that you show them about themselves, from the aspects of their inner world they have spent years or decades trying to escape through distraction, through other relationships, through constant motion that prevents them from sitting still long enough to feel what they have buried in the depths of their unconscious. When they look at you, they see not only love, but also a mirror that reveals their deepest wounds, their most shameful secrets, their most carefully hidden vulnerabilities, and the terror of being seen. This completely overwhelms their capacity to stay present in the connection. Loving you means confronting everything they've hidden, every unprocessed trauma, every rejected part of themselves, every way they have learned to perform rather than simply be. And this level of psychological exposure feels more dangerous to them than any physical threat they might encounter in the material world. Their fear of intimacy runs deeper than their fear of loss because intimacy demands a kind of death, the death of the false self, the death of the protective persona, the death of the story they have told themselves about who they are and what they deserve and how love is supposed to feel. You believe they are running from you, but they are running from the possibility of being truly known, from the vulnerability of allowing another human being to witness them in their messiness and brokenness, and still choose to stay, still choose to love, still choose to see their inherent worthiness beneath all the layers of defense and pretense. This terrifies them more than being alone, more than losing what you shared, because somewhere deep in their subconscious programming lives a belief that if you really knew them, if you really saw them, you would realize they are not worthy of the love you offer. Their running is not evidence that the connection is false, but confirmation that it is real, because only something authentic has the power to trigger such profound defensive reactions. Only genuine love can activate the deep wounds that casual relationships leave untouched. The intensity they run from is the intensity of their own healing calling to them through you, the invitation to wholeness that their ego perceives as annihilation, the transformation that their soul desperately needs, but their personality structure desperately resists. They are more scared of the vulnerability that loving you requires than they are of the loneliness that comes from pushing you away. And until they develop the courage to face that fear, reunion remains impossible no matter how deeply their soul recognizes yours. This pain is not random, not punishment, not evidence that you have done something wrong or that the universe has abandoned you in your moment of greatest need, but rather the exact catalyst your soul requested before incarnating into this lifetime, the specific form of suffering you knew would crack you open in ways that comfort and ease never could. Soul contracts are written in the space between lives, pre-birth agreements made when your consciousness existed in its highest state of clarity, able to see the entire arc of your spiritual evolution and choose the experiences that would serve your growth most profoundly, even when those experiences would involve tremendous pain in human form. You chose this journey before taking your first breath in this body, stood in the presence of your twin flame soul, and agreed to play out this particular drama of connection and separation, knowing that the reunion you both ultimately seek cannot happen until each of you has completed the individual transformation that only the pain of separation can catalyze. Your soul understood what your human self has forgotten, that some forms of growth require the breaking open that comes only through loss, that certain lessons can be learned only in the absence of what you most desire, that the wholeness you seek to bring to your reunion must first be forged in the fire of aloneness. Subscribe to receive continued guidance through the separation, to stay connected to the wisdom that will carry you through the dark night into the dawn that awaits. This pain serves as the spiritual chisel that chips away everything that is not authentically you, everything you have constructed to please others, or protect yourself, or fit into a world that never fully understood the depth of your soul's purpose. The ache of missing them burns away your attachments, dissolves your illusions about love being primarily about comfort and companionship, forces you to excavate the truth of why you incarnated, and what you came here to become beyond the context of any relationship. Every moment of suffering is doing sacred work within you, rewiring your consciousness, expanding your capacity, preparing you for a love that your current version of self could not sustain or fully appreciate. In the void, you find your true self, stripped of all the identities you borrowed from others, all the roles you performed to earn love, all the masks you wore to hide the raw truth of your humanity from a world that felt unsafe for authentic expression. The dark night of the soul is not the end of your journey, but the most crucial phase, the descent into your own underworld, where you must face everything you have spent your life avoiding, the grief you never processed, the rage you never expressed, the needs you never allowed yourself to acknowledge, the worthiness you never learned to embody. What this separation is teaching you has nothing to do with them and everything to do with you, with the ways you have abandoned yourself long before they abandoned you, with the patterns of self-betrayal that allowed you to accept less than you deserve, with the wounds that made you believe your value depends on someone else's capacity to see it. The universe is stripping away codependency disguised as love, dismantling your attachment to external validation, forcing you to build an internal foundation of self-worth that cannot be shaken by another person's choices or presence or absence. Learning to be whole alone first means developing a relationship with yourself that is so solid, so nourishing, so complete that reunion with your twin flame becomes a choice rather than a desperate need, an expansion of your already full life rather than the thing that finally makes you feel worthy of existence. This is the spiritual curriculum hidden within your suffering, the invitation to parent yourself in the ways you needed to be parented, to witness yourself in the ways you longed to be witnessed, to show up for yourself with the consistency and devotion you have always given to others while neglecting your own inner world. The dark night teaches you that you are not half a person waiting for your other half to arrive, but a complete soul who chose temporary incompleteness as the vehicle for profound transformation, that the emptiness you feel is not evidence of your inadequacy, but the sacred space where your truest self is being born from the ashes of who you thought you had to be. Even in separation, you are bound by threads of energy that exist beyond the material plane, beyond the reach of human decision or conscious will, connecting your soul to theirs through dimensions where time and distance hold no dominion over what has been joined in the realm of spirit. The invisible tether between twin flames cannot be cut by physical absence, cannot be dissolved by new relationships or deliberate attempts to move on, cannot be weakened by anger or hurt or the passage of years, because it exists in a frequency where the illusions that govern ordinary human connections have no power to sever what the universe has woven together. Your souls communicate in ways the ego cannot block, sending messages through the subtle channels that remain open even when the conscious mind builds walls of resistance and denial. Dreams become the meeting ground where your higher selves continue the conversation that your human personalities have abandoned, where truth flows unfiltered by fear and wounds, where the love that feels impossible in waking life expresses itself freely in the symbolic language of the unconscious. You see their face in the space between sleep and waking, feel their presence in moments of quiet stillness, hear their voice in your mind with a clarity that defies logical explanation. Telepathy between twin flames is not mystical fantasy, but energetic reality, the natural consequence of two souls who share the same original frequency, who emerged from the same spiritual source, who carry within their energetic blueprint complementary codes that allow for instant recognition and constant communication across any distance. The synchronicities that mark your separation are not coincidence, but confirmation, seeing their name everywhere, hearing the song that reminds you of them at the exact moment you're thinking of them, encountering repeated number patterns that hold personal significance, receiving signs from the universe that they are thinking of you even when they maintain complete silence in the physical realm. This invisible bond serves a purpose beyond comfort, reminding you that the connection transcends the temporary circumstances of your current separation, that what exists between you operates according to laws more permanent than human choice or timing, that reunion is not a matter of if, but when, determined by readiness rather than desire, by spiritual maturation rather than emotional longing. Reunion is inevitable but not immediate, written into the architecture of your shared destiny, but dependent upon the completion of individual journeys that cannot be rushed or bypassed or shortcut through wishful thinking and manifestation rituals that attempt to manipulate divine timing. What must happen first is the full integration of everything this separation has been teaching you, the embodiment of the lessons that can be learned only through the experience of standing alone, the transformation that occurs when you finally stop waiting for them to return and start becoming the person who no longer needs them to return in order to feel whole. Both must complete individual journeys through the underworld of the self, facing the shadows that only emerge in the absence of distraction, healing the wounds that only reveal themselves when the anesthetic of romantic love has been withdrawn, building the internal foundation that will allow you to come together as two sovereign beings rather than two wounded children seeking a parent in each other. They must walk their own path through the dark night, must do their own shadow work, must develop their own relationship with wholeness, and you cannot do this work for them no matter how clearly you see what they need to heal. The vision of reunion that lives in your soul's memory shows two people who have been forged by fire into their highest versions, who meet again with a recognition that goes deeper than before because now they recognize not only each other's souls, but also their own completeness, who come together not to fill voids, but to create expansion, not to complete each other, but to amplify what is already whole within each of them. This reunion will not look like the desperate clinging of the initial connection, but like the conscious choice of two awakened beings who understand that their love serves a purpose beyond personal happiness, that their union contributes something essential to the collective healing of humanity. Share this message if you believe in divine reunion, if you trust that what is meant for you cannot miss you, if you know that the universe orchestrates perfect timing even when human impatience demands immediate resolution. When you meet again, it will be as equals standing in your power, as individuals who have learned to generate their own light rather than depending on each other to dispel the darkness, as partners who choose each other from a place of overflow rather than need, creating together something far more magnificent than what either could build alone. Your sacred responsibility in this moment is not to chase them, not to convince them of what they already know in the depths of their soul, not to perform spiritual gymnastics designed to speed up a timeline that the universe has set according to wisdom far greater than your human understanding of how things should unfold. Stop chasing and start becoming. This is the only instruction that matters, the only practice that will actually create the conditions for reunion, the only path that honors both your growth and theirs. Your job is not to pursue but to transform, not to wait in passive hoping, but to engage in active evolution, not to pine for their return, but to become so fully yourself that when they do return, they find not the person they left, but someone who has been reborn through the fire of separation into a more authentic, more powerful, more complete expression of their soul's purpose. The more you become whole, the faster they return, because twin flame reunion operates according to energetic law, like attracts like, and wholeness calls to wholeness across any distance. This means doing the deep inner work that you have avoided, facing the wounds you have carried since childhood, healing the patterns that have sabotaged every relationship you've ever attempted, learning to meet your own needs instead of abandoning yourself in the hope that someone else will save you from your own emptiness. It means building a life that feels fulfilling without them, pursuing passions that light you up from the inside, cultivating friendships that nourish your soul, creating a daily existence so rich and purposeful that their presence would enhance what already exists rather than providing the only source of meaning in an otherwise hollow experience. Every moment you spend focused on them is a moment stolen from your own becoming. Every ounce of energy you direct toward controlling their choices or timeline is energy diverted from the transformation that is your actual work right now. The universe asks only that you tend to your own healing, that you show up fully for your own life, that you trust the process unfolding in ways your limited human perspective cannot fully comprehend, but your soul recognizes as perfect. What is yours cannot be taken from you by human will or circumstance or the appearance of impossibility, because what belongs to you has been written into the fabric of your destiny by forces that operate beyond the realm where fear and doubt hold any real power. This separation is temporary, a brief chapter in the eternal story of two souls who have loved each other across lifetimes and will continue loving each other long after these current bodies return to dust, whose connection transcends the limitations of this single incarnation and extends into past lives you cannot remember and future existences you cannot yet imagine. The bond is eternal, woven into the energetic signature of who you are at the deepest level, impossible to erase or diminish or destroy, no matter how much distance or silence or pain fills the space between you in this present moment. The universe makes you a promise that is more reliable than any human vow, that what has been joined in the realm of spirit will reunite in the realm of matter when the timing serves the highest good of both souls, when the lessons have been learned, when the transformation has been completed, when both of you can stand in the presence of such powerful love without being consumed by it. Close your eyes and see the vision that your soul holds, two flames that have burned separately, each growing brighter through the work of solitary refinement, now coming together not to merge into one, but to dance in proximity, creating light more brilliant than either could generate alone. Not two halves finally made whole, but two wholes choosing conscious partnership, bringing their individual completeness to a union that serves something greater than personal happiness or romantic fulfillment. This is what you are preparing for, not the desperate reunion of fragmented beings seeking completion in each other, but the sacred marriage of two sovereign souls who have done the work of becoming, who meet again in full recognition of both their individual power and their collective purpose. Trust what your soul knows even when your mind cannot comprehend the path, even when the waiting feels unbearable, even when the evidence suggests that reunion is impossible. The universe is working in your favor, orchestrating circumstances you cannot see, preparing both of you for a love that will transform not only your lives, but the lives of everyone your union touches.